Here's Sanderson. David Perron has a man going to the net. In front, they score!
Ottawa number 18, minor penalty. Interference.
Dang you, referee Mike Markovich. A bizarre interference call as the Senators fall 4-0 in Carolina. Prior to that, a collapse against the Philadelphia Flyers. So a couple of L's since we last got together. Welcome to the program, ladies and gentlemen. By the way, that clip, courtesy of our friends at Sportsnet and Hockey Night in Canada. It is Steve Warren, along with the coach, Greg Kennedy. Greg, how are you today?
I'm good, Steve. I can see today. I've got my glasses on, but I like your look. You look at least, 2-3 months younger.
How dare you? Yeah, I've decided to go with the glasses. And yes, I don't wear glasses except when it comes to reading. And so you may see me squinting a little bit as I check my notes or something on the computer that I need to hit one of the clips and things like that. So yeah,
all good, buddy.
Sue me. But yeah, I mean, so what are you more concerned about right now? Like, or maybe annoyed with Mike Markovich for his officiating against the Carolina Hurricanes in Carolina, or is it the performance of Linus Ullmark in that Philadelphia game?
Ullmark scares me, Steve. It's not the first time, right? Like, okay, you had a little glitch here, you have a little glitch there, but that's his second or maybe his third bad outing where you can actually, like, yes, this team had poor goaltending for a long time, but we always used to say, we know they're going to give up a bad goal. It's not the reason they're losing games. Well, I think you can say they've lost 2 games now because of poor goaltending, and this team cannot afford to lose games. Period. Let alone lose games due to poor goaltending. I think that's a bit of a concern, don't you?
Yeah, I think it's. I mean, you just gave this guy an absolute truckload of money to be here for the next 4 years in that extension, and you really hoped for a better first month than the one he's had. There's been some good in there, but yeah, there was in the last game. It was what was it, Vegas? He said something along the lines, if we'd had quality goaltending in there, we win that game. And that one pales in comparison, in my opinion, to the Philadelphia game. There were 3 or 4 goals, including the winner in overtime, that were just not very good. And I mean, I don't know. When I see a guy do that, and we saw it with Korpisalo, I think it was Anton Lundell from the Florida Panthers,
yes,
who scored twice in the same season from down below the goal line, ramping it off the shoulder. To me, that's a goalie taking shortcuts. Like, how in the world can you be taking shortcuts in overtime? Something as simple as that. There's nobody to watch for. There was no one for Mishkov to throw it out in the front of the net to. And it was just a case of cutting corners. And to your point, that's something that concerns me. And hopefully he'll get past it, but it's not off to a great start.
It becomes difficult for a coaching staff. You put Linus Ullmark in, and he plays really well, and then you put him in again, and he plays really well. But in the back of your mind, okay, he's capable of a dud. We now know it for a fact. We've seen it twice. He's capable of pitching a dud. When's that dud going to come? Do we start him tonight? Don't we start him tonight? It's just one more factor on a list of considerations as to who's going to start for you. And that's not one you want to have as a coaching staff, as a team. You want to be able to rely on this guy, especially, as you said, the money he makes, the pedigree he brings, the statistical history. Like, you don't want to have question marks around this guy. He's the one guy where you're supposed to say, all is well. Just make sure he's not tired. Just goes, hey, Linus, you good to go tonight? Yep. Okay, fine, you're in. It should be that simple. And it's just making it more difficult now. And I wouldn't want to be having to make choices like that. It's tough.
Maybe the key is you don't throw them in there 3 games in a row, because how many times did Boston do that when they had Jeremy Swayman? They're not letting Jeremy Swayman rot on the bench for 3 straight games. And so it was a true platoon situation, which really, all in all, that's been Linus Ullmark's career. So maybe what's happening here is that the Sens are asking Linus Ullmark to do something he hasn't done before. And that's not be a platoon guy anymore, but a guy that could start 3 out of every 4 games. And maybe there's an adjustment period, or maybe that's not something of course he's capable of it, but maybe that's just not something he's comfortable with. And maybe it'll take some time. So maybe that plays in as well. He did say that, and if you're a Ted Lasso fan, you'll know that Linus Ullmark is as well. He said after the game, got to have the memory of a goldfish now. And because, of course, in Ted Lasso, the famous motivational speech, you got to be goldfish because they have like I don't know, a 10-second memory or something like that, and they can move on easily to the next thing. Linus Ullmark did talk about that being one of his strengths, not letting things kind of get to him and put it away and move on to the next thing. Though I did think, and I think Gord Wilson mentioned this in one of his interviews, that it was a different Linus Ullmark after the Flyer game versus the one against Vegas. There seemed to be almost a little bit of levity as, it's just a one-off, that won't happen again. Ullmark seemed to take that one against Philadelphia maybe a little more to heart. What did you think?
For sure, because it wasn't. It was 3 goals, Steve. It was at
Mm.
least 3 goals in a game that you like. The Vegas game was not necessarily a given that the Senators were going to win or that they should win, even. But this was a game you were in complete control of, leading in the third period, 2-goal lead in the third period, and just to give up the goals that he gave up. Now, granted, there was a breakaway in there, there was a 2-on-1 in there, but the way the pucks were beating Linus Ullmark is just unacceptable. You cannot have that, especially in this situation. With all due respect to Anton Forsberg, he is not Jeremy Swayman. You don't have a tandem goalie here, guy, prospect even. You don't have anybody in the organization who could play as a true tandem to Linus Ullmark the way that Jeremy Swayman did. Like, you're in trouble if you're going to rely on Forsberg to give you more wins than, or the same number of wins as Linus Ullmark, or the same number of starts or close to it. It's just asking too much. And you saw yet another bad goal from Forsberg. I mean, did I think they were going to beat Carolina? No. Did I think they had a chance of beating Carolina? No. They lost the game. Okay, it's a throwaway in that sense. But you still want to see a better performance out of the team and a better performance and a compete from everyone and a better night from Forsberg.
Yeah. I mean, after that, so that's back-to-back, right? So the overtime goal against the Flyers was a bad goal, obviously, down below the goal line. Or not quite down. It was a bad angle. And then the Forsberg one to start out the game against Carolina, though Forsberg was very good, I think, in that game overall. Like, he kept the minute in the first half of that game because Carolina was coming pretty hard in that early going. But those were 2 straight back-to-back goals.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Unless Joe Nieuwendyk is part of the discussion, I'm not sure we can think of 2 consecutive goals on the Ottawa Senators in a row that gave us all fits.
Nice reference.
No need for me to bring that particular reference up. So let's move on to that game because everybody's talking about the officiating. I played the clip, and first of all, let's go to Travis Green here. First of all, on what he thought of that disallowed goal to Tim Stützle. Ends up being an interference call because he knocked a guy's stick away, kind of in his backswing. This is what Green had to say.
I think that was a huge part of the game. I really don't understand how that's not a goal or how it's a penalty. It's a big moment of the game. Could have been 1-1. And then the call on Pinto is, for me, another one that really changed the momentum. All of a sudden, not only are we 1-1, but we're shorthanded and take the too many men, which wouldn't, you don't like to take, but we shouldn't have been shorthanded there as well.
So that's Travis Green in conversation with the media, in particular Gord Wilson, TSN 1200, that clip coming from the Sens YouTube channel. What say you about that particular call by referee Mike Markovits?
Yeah, I thought the Stützle call was ridiculous. He was simply winding up. He's putting his stick on the ice and pulling his stick back to be ready for the 1T. I don't see it as being that. I'd really like to, if you raked him over the coals and you hung him by his fingernails or toenails or whatever you got to do to torture somebody these days, I wonder if Tim Stützle would admit, yeah, I interfered with him. But I don't think so. I think he was simply getting ready to receive a pass. The call on Pinto, okay, interpretation, maybe you see it as he gave the goalie an extra whack, but it wasn't like there was no intent. It wasn't chopping in his hand. He wasn't violent. He wasn't trying to hurt him. It wasn't like there'd been stuff earlier in the game and we're going to clamp down on this stuff. Like, he was just saw a loose puck and he went and reached for it. Yeah, by the time he got there, it was covered, but that shouldn't have been a penalty. I totally agree with Travis Green that neither of those two should have been penalties, and I'm sure you agree completely.
Yeah, I mean, it ends up being the Pinto thing led to the too many men. That didn't lead to it, but You know,
Yeah.
you're 4-4, you're down a man and you're scrambling in that situation. And without the Pinto call, you're not probably getting the too many men call. So it's a 5-on-3 there. Not only do they get one, but they get a second goal. Somehow there's 8 seconds left in the first penalty, the one to Pinto, and Carolina managed to score in that 8 seconds. So they stay on the 5-on-4 after the 5-on-3 goal, and they score again as the power play carried over into the third period. And that, as they say, was all she wrote. But in terms of the Stützle thing, first of all, I find it irritating the way that Mike Markovich, I think that's his name, there was so much swagger in the call. Like he does that pointing thing and then throwing over, like just very proud of his interference call. Just, I never saw a guy so confident about being so wrong. And you think about one-timers that we see all the time, you know, Josh Norris, for example, he's constantly in his office there waiting for that one-timer, and they don't sit there with their stick on the ice in front of them like they're posing for a 1974 hockey card. They're getting their stick up in the air. Every great NHL shooter who's known for their one-timer, whether it's Kucherov or Heatley or going way back to Brett Hull, these guys have their stick in the air ready to go, and that's all he's doing. He may have been conscious of the fact that Svechnikov's stick was there. He's reaching with one hand, but he's well within his rights when he's going back in his backswing to clear out room for that backswing. And I just thought that was one of the dumbest calls I've ever seen. Like, just what are we doing here, NHL? Like, what are we doing? Are we just constantly these ticky-tack things to take goals off the board? You constantly get together, all these fat billionaires in suits who get together to try and improve the game and go golfing and stuff, these board of governors meetings. And it's like, you're happy with that? You know, you're happy with millimeter offside, taking goals off the board from a situation that happened 40 seconds before the goal goes in, or puck over glass. I don't know. It used to be, I hate to say it, more of a man's game. Now we're just splitting hairs and nitpicking and trying to find ways to I don't know, take away offense. And I just very much against the spirit of the game. For starters, for full transparency, I don't even like the automatic 100% of the time you knock the stick out of a guy's hands, that's automatic, that can't be something that the referee uses his best judgment on. I don't get why that's 100% call. But yeah, that was just a terrible call on Stützle. My rant is over.
Are you okay? I think
Sorry.
at the heart of this, well, through that though, I got the gist that you're not a fan of replay either. Nor am I. I'm not a fan of instant replay. Don't like it at all. I also don't like cut and dried calls. You'll remember the whole fiasco of skate and crease. If the skate's in the crease, it's no goal, no matter what. It could be way over there, 6 feet away in that corner of the crease, but this goal didn't count. Like, I'm not a fan of black and white. I believe that you pay these guys a pretty good salary to use their judgment to officiate a game. Let them do it. But in this case, if that was this guy's judgment, then there's something wrong. This guy's getting paid too much then, because that's a wrong call. But I guess you can't have it both ways, right? We want them to be able to judge things accordingly. We want to let them make a decision. And then this guy makes a decision like that, like, holy smokes. I don't know what you're supposed to do, right?
Right. I think I'm in the mode of, I'd be fine with if we got rid of instant replay. That's fine if you want to do that. Because, I mean, the reality is I feel like fans are maybe more frustrated than they used to be. And that was supposed to be, getting the call right. I feel like everybody's more frustrated than they even used to be, because they can't. If you can't get the instant replay right, and then why are we doing it? Why are we investing all this time when players, teams, fans, media, everyone comes away so frustrated so consistently? So why are we wasting time doing it? Why not just let the referee have his best go at it and live with it as we go? Because it just I guess you're never going to be 100%. So I guess you try to do what you can. But if I'm to make one recommendation from what happened from the Stützle thing, it would be to change the rule so that if you have a referee come in and swoop in and do something, make a call that pulls an obvious goal off the board, at least go back and have a look at it. If you've got replay, let's start using it properly.
Well, originally replay was brought in for one thing and one thing only, to determine if a puck went over the goal line. And it is growing and growing and growing ever since. Additional things, now it's offside, now it's in goalie interference. It's all kinds of stuff now that it never used to be. All it was did the puck go in or not? And I'm okay with that. I agree with you on the offside one. Don't need it. I think that if somebody's sitting somewhere in an office watching a game, there are people in that headquarters or command center watching the game. I think somebody maybe should be allowed to step in those instances and say, hey, guys, are you sure you want to call that penalty on Stützle? We're looking at it here, and I don't think that's a penalty. That's a goal. Call the goal, move on. Like, you don't even need to have a replay. Don't let the ref look at it. Just tell him, sorry, you've been overruled. That's a goal. Shut up and drop the puck at center ice.
Right, yeah. Like the NFL has all scoring plays are reviewed, I think. And so, again, I think that if you have an offside situation that can pull a goal off the board, then this is more important than that. You've pulled a goal off the board by a mistake from a referee. That, to me, needs to be something that's reviewed, in my opinion. But let's move on, though. We've got some great news this week. Up on the housetop, oh, hey, it's Steve here for Celebright. I'm just putting on my old school Christmas lights with these obnoxious little plastic clips in minus 30-degree temperature at the top of this ladder 12 feet off the ground. No, I'm not doing any of that anymore. No, sir. Celebright.ca. I urge you to check them out today. Celebright is your permanent holiday lighting solution. So many options. St. Paddy's Day green, Team Canada red and white, orange for Halloween, and the beautiful colors of Christmas. And Celebright is all controlled from your smartphone. And Celebright's installers were absolutely fantastic and professional. I urge you to check them out today. Celebright.ca. It's a wobbly ladder. David Perron, who missed 11 games with the Ottawa Senators, played just 5, missed 11, and now back in the lineup. He returned to the lineup against the Carolina Hurricanes on Saturday night, and that is absolutely fantastic news. And Perron met with the media. We'll talk about it in a sec, but here's Perron's comments with the media this week on the day of his return.
Yeah, it's good. It's just good to be around the guys. Honestly, even the last several days of skating, taking part as much as I can. Yeah, it's good to be around. Honestly, this is what we do for a living, but sometimes there's bigger things, and I have to take care of it.
Next step is the road trip then, and you look like you are going to be in tomorrow night.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's up to the coach. Obviously, I just want to do my part, get back with the guys. I mean, again, today was nice skating on the line. I was playing the extra D there for a little bit, and I think getting a couple skates like that, obviously you feel better. And I know the guys probably at this point are starting to feel in the swing of things of the season. And for me, it was kind of like something the whole time that I was waiting. The situation we kind of found out middle of August that we would have to deal with it at some point, and kind of a little bit of a dark cloud the whole time over my head. And you're trying to manage, you're trying to just live your life normal, because there's many people that go through a situation, and it is what it is. But at the same time, now seems like it's more under control. We're not fully out of the woods, but we're getting there. Yeah.
How important was it to take that step back, David, and spend time with family?
Yeah, no, it's critical for sure. This is a situation, never went through this before. Again, since middle of August, we kind of found out that with the birth of our child at the end of October, my wife, we found out through some scans and stuff that we would have to do a procedure, and maybe something I'll get more into details as we go down the road. But I mean, obviously at that time we had to be in Toronto at some point late August, right before camp for a week, and that kind of slowed down my training as well. And that's the hockey side, and obviously the personal side. Everyone understood. We're very supportive. The organization, from Michael, the owner, and then Steve, everyone really. It's been incredible. Only support from them, and yeah. So I'm fortunate, even around the hockey world, the fans. General managers, teammates, ex-teammates from all over hockey have been reaching out, so it's great.
How good is it to be back?
Yeah, it's good. It's great. It's just even driving this morning, coming to the rink in my suit, knowing I'd be going on the road, just joining the team. I like, obviously I want to get back and feel like the way the guys are, but I'm going to trust what Greener's got in store for me, the plan that he's got. The guys has been playing really good hockey. I want to just be one of the guys in the room and come on the ice and start building my game, make a difference. And I know I can make a difference. And I think now that this situation's kind of more and more resolved, it feels like that the cloud that was kind of hanging over me since August really isn't there as much. And we're almost the whole family home. It's gonna be nice soon.
I mean, only if you feel comfortable. What is the procedure that you're...
No, it's not a. She had a baby had a mass basically on the right lung, and not genetic or anything. They're still kind of doing some tests. It seems like it's good to go as far as nothing too crazy, obviously. And there was like a couple scary moments that maybe you think they're gonna have to take the whole lung out. You don't know. You start wondering what's the life gonna be like. Like in August, especially when we found out we had to emergency go to Toronto, like the mass was pushing so much on the left side of the chest that the heart was maybe gonna have a heart attack or something inside. So anyway, just not to get too crazy into it, but this was something we had to deal with, and then trying to manage all our other three kids at the same time, moving to a new city. We were in the hotel for most of the training camp, and it's been crazy 2 months for me, but glad it's over with, almost over with, and we're trending in the right direction.
You say you're doing well?
Yeah, well, we're not fully great there, but we're getting there. I think hopefully by the end of next week, hopefully we're getting to a situation where it just felt like for me at some point. I think we're lucky enough in the hockey world, the way things are trending. You can step away for different stuff at times, and everyone's been really supportive. And this is not a luxury maybe that all the jobs have. And we've honestly seen situation in the hospital that we've been there every day, and you see other situation that parents can't always be there, things like that. So through our bad luck, there's been a lot of fortunate situation. It's the best scenario so far that we can have, and that we're really happy.
That is great. David Perron conversation with the media, and that courtesy of the Senators YouTube channel, and you love to see it. He was pointless in his first 5 games, and his first game back against Carolina, he had the great assist on the Stützle goal that was disallowed, so unfortunately didn't get his first point. But, you can't really know what the Perron family's been going through, Greg, but, if you're a parent and start thinking about, the health of your child going sideways and being just so gravely worried about how things are going, you can, to some degree, put yourself in their shoes and understand fully that he needed time to step away, and it's amazing that things seem to be on the right route.
Yeah, think about it. You've got a job working at a desk crunching numbers all day, dealing with this sort of an issue at home. Think of how difficult it would be to concentrate on your work in that sense. And now imagine you're a professional athlete. You're in a situation on the ice with people running around trying to hit you, and you need to find motor skills, and you're distracted. Like it makes perfect sense. He needed time, and he's taken the time. And I thought he played very well. Actually, I thought he played a pretty good game. He looked good in the Pinto bumper spot for some shifts on the power play too. I thought he looked good. I wish nothing but the best for him and his wife and the child, and I look forward to seeing him get out of this little funk he's in here and start putting some points on the board.
It's a great point about being distracted as an NHL player versus an office worker.
That.
If you're distracted at your desk at work, you might go and play puck doku. Is that what they call it?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah,
whatever. Or get on Twitter or X or something like that. You get distracted as an NHL player, you're gonna get your head taken off, or on a lesser degree, you're just not effective. Because there's no shifts off, obviously, and if you're distracted about something that's way more important than the game of hockey, you're not doing the team any favors either. So anyway, kudos to David Perron, and best of luck with the continued success of the health of young Elizabeth, and I'm glad to see things are working out. This is what Travis Green had to say, by the way, on the return of David Perron.
Yeah, great to have him back on two levels. One as a player and for our team, but also for himself. It's been a long process, and it's good to have him back for sure.
On-ice resume speaks for itself. Over 1,000 games in the NHL, a Stanley Cup win. The off-ice resume. Taylor, tell us a little bit about what he brings to the team inside the locker room.
Yeah, a real leader in the group. He's gone through a lot of different experiences, understands, a lot of stuff I think that we're probably talking about as far as what it takes to win in the NHL, and be good to have him back and get him up and running.
There is Travis Green in conversation with the media, that courtesy of the Sens YouTube channel, and he does seem like one of those guys that is well embraced by his teammates. Some veterans who maybe come in with the younger guys can be a little bit, prickly, a little bit, I don't want to say standoffish or anything, but kind of that I've been around the block punk, But it seems like David Perron, regardless of the age of his teammate, he seems like a pretty beloved guy already in that Sens room.
Yeah, but that's the sort of I think that speaks to the group, right? This is a group of young guys who are probably not outwardly, it's not visible, it's not you don't see it every day, but I bet inside, deep down, they're hungry for guys like David Perron. They need guys like David Perron in the room. Veterans who can bring leadership, who can bring experience, who can bring simple stories, simply a guy who could sit down and talk to them and help them through things. They need guys like that in the room. So yes, they would be welcoming. And so far, they have welcomed him, and now like I said, it's time to start playing on the ice and seeing what he can do to help the team.
It's hard not to like the group. There's a great group of personalities there, and is this the year they get to the playoffs? That's the $1 million question. They're 8-1 on the year now, and just
win
having
two,
a hard
lose two,
time.
win two, lose two. That's 500 hockey.
Yeah. The consistency factor has been an issue once again. Trying to find that traction, but identity is something I wanted to ask you about. The identity of the group as personalities, a great group of they're fun-loving, look like they're, to me, a more serious group this year. But let me ask you about identity and whether it's like, what is an identity? Like when you talk about it from an NHL team's perspective, what is identity and why is it important, or is it?
Well, the identity is that's the right word, perspective. What do other people see in you? How do other teams describe you? If I'm the Vancouver Canucks and Ottawa's coming to town and I've got to write an article in my newspaper or do my podcast and discuss the Senators, what kind of things am I going to say about them? That is your identity. And unfortunately, for too long, and it seems to be continuing, the identity of this team is they'll win two, they'll lose two. You don't know who's going to show up. It might even change from period to period within a game. You just don't know what you're going to get. There have been really nice stretches where they've sort of shown what the Travis Green perceives to be the identity. That's a hard-working, smart club that forechecks hard, plays well in their own zone, defends well, all that stuff that we DJ Smith talked about for years. That's what Travis Green wants the identity to be, and you're trying to change from that consistently inconsistent identity, which is unfortunately what they have right now. You want to see an identity? You watch the Carolina Hurricanes play that game. Now tonight or tomorrow night or whenever you can, go watch another Carolina game and then another one, and you'll see the exact same game. You might see a different result, but you'll see the exact same game for the Carolina Hurricanes, night in, night out, night in, night out. Up-tempo, hard work, forecheck hard, physical all over the ice, making people accountable. That's the identity that the Senators are looking for.
Yeah, and I think it's important to identify the identity from the perspective of it's like a mission statement.
Exactly.
Because that consistency can't be there if you don't know what you are. If you haven't identified what you want to be, because there's many paths to be successful. We're fire wagon hockey. We're run and gun hockey. By the way, that doesn't work very well in 2024. The 80s Oilers years are long behind us. But yeah, I mean, the reality is you need to establish what you are almost as a mission statement, because you can't be consistent unless you know exactly who you are, what you want to do, and how you want to be successful. And I don't know, it feels like they're on their way to a degree. The underlying numbers, they're pretty good so far.
Mm-hmm.
All in all, they could be better than 8-1. Like, you just take back those two Ullmark stinkers, and you could probably take back one or two more. Like, just the Ullmark ones, though. And quick math will tell you that you're suddenly 10, 6-1. And that's suddenly a record to
That's
get
good.
excited about in the year. It's very good. And
Yeah.
so that's just a small sample of, a little bit of, if things have gone their way a little more, like like I say, the underlying numbers have been excellent. And I think to the point where Money Puck going into the Carolina game had them as the 5th best chance of winning the Stanley Cup. Not just making the playoffs, but the kind of relentless forecheck and the way they've been playing, just, even though the results haven't been consistently there, like they're playing very good hockey, generally speaking, in these first 17 games so far.
Yeah, they looked like the team to beat in the East. I mean, it was Carolina, it was the Rangers, Florida. There's your top teams in the East, and the Rangers may be a little flip flop, a little inconsistency, but the Florida Panthers, the Carolina Hurricanes, they have an identity that is readily available and easy to spot anytime you play those two teams.
Yeah. Dany Heatley in the news. Because
yeah.
Dany Heatley almost never gives interviews. And he popped up on a podcast called Missin' Curfew. And that is hosted
that's
by...
the name of a podcast that Dany Heatley would be on. Anyway, sorry. Continue.
I would say, let me see. So Shane O'Brien and Scotty Upshaw, both former NHL players, they host it. And I think DraftKings is doing it, if I'm not mistaken. Anyway, so I'm not sure what they're tying. Maybe there's a past hockey connection. Almost everybody's connected, everybody in the world of pro hockey. Yeah. But Heatley jumped on and did a rare interview. And, he talked about a number of things, mostly about the good old days, how he loved his time in Ottawa. He talked about Jason Spezza and how fastidious, I think that's the word, he was with his old wooden sticks. And he talked about how he's excited the team's going downtown, that the rink is scheduled to be downtown someday because he was here and lived in Canada. His final year, though, he was in Ottawa. And I think actually Stuntman Stu, after the trade went down, Stuntman Stu ended up getting his parking spot right across from the radio station after the trade. So anyway, that's neither here nor there. But certainly Dany Heatley talked about a number of different things. But one thing he dropped in there was that he hasn't been to Ottawa in years. And he says he's going to be here next month for quote unquote something, which led to speculation that maybe he's the next guy in the Ring of Honor. But you have a better prediction. Like, I like your prediction better than the one about Heatley going in.
Here's my prediction, sports fans. Saturday, December 14th, 7 p.m. The Pittsburgh Penguins are in town. Assistant General Manager Jason Spezza will go up into the Ottawa Senator Ring of Honor that night, and Dany Heatley will be in town for the festivities. Spezza was spotted. I spotted him in the crowd at the Hall of Fame induction ceremony, sitting beside Steve Stais and Michael Andlauer in the crowd. I think it's Spezza's turn in Ring of Honor, and Heatley's coming to town for the festivities. That's my take.
That makes so much sense across the board for everything you just talked about. And not, I think the biggest reason would be, why would Dany Heatley go ahead of Jason Spezza? Yeah. I think Spezza, most people would agree, with more games played here. I think that he would be the next in line. I think Heatley deserves to be there someday, but I don't think he deserves to be there ahead of Jason Spezza. And the timeline works out with the Penguins visit. So,
and you did some research on generally the time frame between the announcement of Ring of Honor honorees and the actual ceremony, right? And what did you come up with Redden?
Yeah, Redden was announced like November 17th, 2022, and then it was mid-December,
right?
When he actually, so less than a month. And so it wouldn't shock me now that Heatley interview's out there and that you mentioned he's coming to town. It wouldn't shock me that the Sens make some kind of announcement in the next couple of weeks, or
we're all wrong.
Maybe just coming to town to see an old buddy. You never know. We may be jumping way ahead of things, cart before the horse. But speculation and innuendo, it's what sports podcasts and sports talk radio are all about, Greg, when you get down to it.
Yeah.
So Sens start a 4-game homestand now, and they will get right out of the gates Connor McDavid and the Edmonton Oilers. I don't imagine Darnell Nurse will be available to them. Ryan Reeves got a 5-game suspension for his hit on Darnell Nurse. We shall take our leave. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for being here. Reminders of the podcast, this is the podcast. Reminder of the website. The podcast's website is sensnationhockey.com. And please check out the hockey news. I'm the site editor over there. Some great articles you can check out, thn.com/Ottawa. Greg, enjoy your evening, and we shall talk to you next time.
For sure. Thanks, Steve.